So hello everybody, it is Ebontis, and I'm kind of at basically where the demo would end, and you would go into the game. By the way, the demo is totally free, so I highly recommend checking out this demo for Eternal Strands. Progress carries over, and it's a good way to kind of get your foot into the game, feel it out, and honestly, I had a great time. But my goal in this video is just to give you some tips, so whether you're starting on the demo or starting on the full game, that you can kind of have a bit of a smoother journey and kind of take out a couple bumps in the road, but overall it's pretty good about showing you tutorials and tips. And if you go and look in like the codex for tutorials and things, you'll find some of the stuff, and if you notice, like the system has tutorials for quite a few things in here. So some of this stuff may already be in here, but I'm just trying to cover what's in here. Like if you need to know what a flame bow does for its attack abilities, you can actually go back in here and review and see what your abilities do. You can kind of check out a bunch of different enemies that you might fight and what you might have to deal with. So the tutorials are a lot in here, but I know some people are not going to get here and notice a lot of that. So the first thing I just want to mention is when you travel, there are certain things called codex, like little pickups that you can get. And those are where you're going to be able to go in the codex and learn about locations and get history about the world and all that stuff. But the little pickups are, you're going to need at least 8 per world. Now, you don't have to 100% the game and get 24, but if you're running around and you see them, they're kind of worth going out of your way to pick up so you can get a total of 8. Main reason? They're going to allow you to see what the epic encounter is on the level. So like the new location I'm going, I don't even know what big boss is going to be there. I also can know the weather, because like if there's a flash freeze in a location, maybe I might want to bring a little more cold resistance so I can manage. Or if I'm doing a flash freeze against the Drake, who's going to be a fire boss, that might actually work because the world's not going to get caught on fire because most of it's going to be cold. So then I kind of got to balance my resistance and figure it out. Gives you an idea of what you're getting into going in. Some quests you might need to fight certain enemies, so you might need to know what common enemies are out there. You also might need to know what resources are available in different locations, and that's why it's good to have that information. Once you've got 8, you've got all the information you need for a zone. Anything above that is just more lore for the game, but if you can find 8 of those, and I'll put a picture of them on screen so you can see what they look like in the world, they're just like little 4-point stars. And they're kind of one of the smaller but brighter objects you see. You might see a little bit of like, you know, floating gold smoke off of a chest or anything like that. But if you can see that little kind of bright star or 4-point star like somewhere, that's one of those things to go for. Once you've got 8, then you're good. But at least try and make sure you get 8 for each location. And again, maybe I do want to go to Dredge's Mire, but I don't love the weather there. It'll tell you this. Like you can change the cycle from night to day. But also by sleeping, you'll change the weather effects, and it may cover this in the tutorial, but there are times I need to go to a certain place for a certain quest, or I needed to fight a certain enemy, and I wanted an advantageous environment, so whether it was clear or something like that, I don't want to go fight a fire dragon when it's also a drought, and the whole world's going to set on fire very easily like kindling. This is a clear area now. Both of these are clear. Might be a little easier to go in and take on the Drake now, because it's kind of a neutral fighting ground. Just a couple pieces of advice there about the weather, the codex pieces, and that type of stuff. Now your inventory, when you're out in the world, you get about 12 slots to start. Now when you do your upgrades, you're going to have the option to upgrade your stations from level 1 to level 2. That's going to be the first thing you have to do. A Soul is Forged. It's kind of for one of the quests. Then you get the option to upgrade the rest of your party members here. And these are actually going to be, priority-wise for me, always upgrade Casman's Caravan. It allows you to have more inventory, and then if you die, it allows you to pull more resources, especially the rare ones, back to safety as well. So when you're upgrading stations, I always prioritize her first, and then everything else I kind of go from there. But she's my first priority every time, because the more resources you're picking up and bringing back, the faster everything else will go, including your upgrading your other characters. So, trust me, she's the upgrade first. Everything else you can figure out whether you want weapon upgrades or potions and tonics, or, you know, power upgrades as a priority after that. He's going to be the most expensive, so that's kind of a toss-up as well. You can get 2 of these for usually what he's going to cost you, but the upgrade for your inventory, probably one of the most important ones. And hopefully they actually change the inventory capacity in a patch later on, but for now, it's one of my kind of main sticking points, so the more inventory you get, the faster the better. Also a reason to make sure you go through the golden path. Notice progress further in the story to unlock new upgrades. The quicker you go through and do the main quests, the better off you're going to be to get to those next upgrades for your NPCs. You can do some of these like while you're doing some other stuff, but if you just like focus on the main upgrades or the main story quests, that's how you're going to make progress to getting everybody to a higher tier, and that's just all going to be better. You don't need to go fight an epic Drake hunt. You don't need to specifically do these. If something combines and lands together, cool, and you can do these slowly over time as well, but the main story quest, I would focus on that as much as you can. It will push a lot of things forward naturally as you go. Now, when you go out in the world and you have face a big epic foe, like the big Ark or the Drake or whatever it is you're going to fight, when you face them the first time and fight them, and you'll usually take them down, what you need to do is come back to lane and you need to go to codex compiling, and you need to actually go to the big foes, whether it's the Ark or the Drake or whatever it may be, and then you need to go to your codex, because in here, it's going to say if you go down this list on the left, but then you go to the right and you go to great foes, there's information in here that will tell you how to actually do the second and third stage of taking down these enemies. Like the second and third are the same. You have to harvest them. And all of these codex entries are going to give you tips, but you actually have to come back to lane to compile the codex. So make sure you always compile your codex if you face a big new enemy, and then you read through there, and that'll give you tips of how to harvest the epic foes, so you can upgrade your powers over here at Dom as you get your stations upgraded. So don't forget to compile your codex, very important thing. Solage 4s has a couple of things. I'm going to touch on them really quick here. Crafting, pretty straightforward. Put any resources that you've got to make the item for the first time, and then once it's made, you can reforge, and any resources you use to make it the first time, you'll get them back. So if I'm going to go make, like, you know, a random piece of gear over here, it doesn't have to be, like, epic. I can use basic stuff, and at least this way I've got it created. And then as I get more resources...
Plus the materials, I'd say.
Then I'm going to be able to actually mess around with it with reforging. Reforging is awesome. I will tell you that right now. So if you take a piece of gear and say it's level 1, and maybe it's like, if I switch this out, notice I'm going to increase my cold resistance. Now, it might lower some other things about it because it's not quite as high tier. But if I even take the bromite and I switch it over to, say, steel, I can have more damage, but I'll give up cold resistance. Or if I go over here, I give up a little of both, so I probably wouldn't do that. But this one, maybe I'm like, I don't really care too much about cold, but I want the bow to hit harder right now. So this feels like a good thing because I'm going against something where I want this to be more powerful. And the higher tier, the more effect it's going to have, but also the higher it is on this list, aka the more number of materials that it needs, the more effect it's going to have. So you'll notice this down here would be, you know, that's kind of your starting level. But if I go to green tier, it's going to give me 11 weapon power and some like resistances. I can go pure weapon power. Maybe I go way more heat resistance with this one. Then if I go up to blue, now we're talking like 19, 22 weapon power, bigger resistances. And notice this is 11 for cold resistance. Lose some of my heat resistance. Lose some cold resistance, get some heat resistance. But these are all going to help with weight, which will help with stamina. And then notice when you get really, really high tier, you're all the way up to like 30, big changes in stats. So tinker all the time. Like if I do this, then guess I go in here, I can reforge it. And then if I come in here and I can put this one in here, okay, this is going to give me more heat resistance for now. We'll do that. And you'll always notice the whitewood, that came back. So you're never going to lose resources by tinkering. I recommend doing this all the time, messing with it. And honestly, if you go to like dismantle something, what you're going to do is basically come back in here and say, I've got 2 of these. We're going to go and dismantle, and I'm going to get all those resources back. So even crafting that one random piece I made, I can still get all of it back. So there's not really a way that you're going to lose many resources in here. So I wouldn't worry about it if you make and craft and reforge and upgrade. If something isn't quite working for you, that's fine. Just know when you do upgrade, it will cost more resources per slot. So notice like the level 1 stuff, it's 6, 3, 2, and 1. Then when you get up to level 2, then it's 8, 4, 3, and 2. I think when you get to like level 5, the top slot was taking like 24 resources. So it is going to take you a lot to level things up. So just pay attention and beware that early on, if say, did I upgrade one of my other slots? I thought I did. Well, I did upgrade this one. But if I wanted to upgrade my bow, I would need 2 more pieces of ironwood, 1 more luster weave, 1 more bromite, and 1 more double bend leather. I technically have 1 more, like 1, 2 more of each of those, so I could upgrade it, and I get the benefit from it. Thing is, now if I want to swap the pieces out, it's going to take 8 of that top slot to be able to do a bit of reforging. So just be aware that you can limit your reforging potential depending on what resources you kind of lock in the upgrade for a little while. But then once you've got enough resources, say now I've got 8 of the darter hide or whatever, then I could go in, swap that in, and that wouldn't be a problem. But until then, you can kind of lock yourself into a certain type of build. If you upgrade, you can't really un-upgrade. So just be aware of those pieces. Fun system though. Use it all the time. Reforge plenty because you never lose resources. Fun system. And you can make a whole bunch of different types of builds. So one thing I'm going to remind you, it's going to tell you about it, but I forgot for a very long time. The Wisp, when you get that ability, you just hit up on the D-pad. Basically what it will do, and unfortunately I don't have any of the items that I need in this region right now, but those little particles that come out will guide you towards it. You might be standing next to whatever you need, but if it's on like the 4th floor of a building, you might not know it's there because you have to be close enough to an item for the quest marker to show up like that. But you'll notice, like, if that thing is down there, and that's kind of why things are doing what they're doing. Oh, and remember, have fun with your abilities. It's pretty fun to throw guys around, stun them, and take them out that way. But say that's like the quest item that I need to get to, even if I'm facing behind me. That one's like going all over the place because it's not there. But now if you wait for the cooldown for the Wisp, it should be showing there. And normally not a lot of things are going to be glowing like that. So the fact that it's glowing is like it's a nighttime thing. There's a quest related. But generally it's going to be a bit more of a directional thing. So if I come back here, notice I'm not in range for the quest marker to show up. It's going to guide me generally towards where you need to go. So kind of follow the wisps and you're going to be better off if you do that. Oh, he's trying to catch me off guard there. No, none of that. You can throw one enemy at another enemy and really just have a good time with it. Throw them really high, let them fall down. Going for the jump attack. Trying to really say just have fun with your powers, and I'll probably say that again, but the big thing is the wisp. Like for a quest, it's probably easier the farther you are, just to show you, but I wanted to point this out again because I forgot about it for way too long, and I promise you I felt really stupid when I remembered it. So notice how it's not even glowing now, but it'll kind of tell me it's like in this general direction is where I need to go, and it's going to guide me right to it. So do not forget about that wisp for quest items, specific things in quests. Like if you need a direction to go, you're like, I think I'm in the area, where do I need to go? Okay, follow the wisps, and then if you feel like you're getting farther, then activate them again, and then if you're close enough, then you know you're kind of getting where you need to go. They will generally take you in the right direction, so pay attention to them and don't forget about them. So part of Eternal Strands is going to be about what you explore, what you get to kind of tinker with, and using your magical powers is part of the fun. And I would use them a lot, truly. You're going to start out with Weaver's Grasp, lets you pick things up and move them around. So if there's an object, you can pick it up, you can throw it, you can break plenty of things and actually get like materials out of them too. But the other thing you're going to have is Ice Wall, which is going to allow you to freeze things in place, maybe control, like, oh, I set, like, things are on fire. That may not be a good idea. Well, you can actually control fire pretty well with a nice Ice Wall. So, really tinkering with the powers makes this game what, like, some of the best parts of everything it's got to offer. So really make sure you mess with them a lot. I mean, sometimes you might just look at an enemy and be like, oh, I'm not ready to fight you. Okay. There he goes. He's gone. He's not really an issue for me right now. He's going to be down there doing his thing. Maybe I want to throw an object at an enemy because I can use that actually as a weapon. You can go through and actually get an achievement for killing things in this game without even using a weapon. And it's kind of one of those cool things that you can do. Now, yeah, pulling out your weapon, going for combat. Obviously going to be pretty effective. But wounding something before you even get there is actually one of the even more fun ways to do it. Now, one of the things about the world that I do kind of want to point out, and this usually has a good chunk of them to explore, one, anything that looks like a door, a blocked off area, maybe it's a big frozen cavern entrance. If you have a fire ability, melt the cavern entrance. If it's like a big wooden door, break the wooden door. There's very few things you can't manipulate in the world, so keep that in mind. When it comes to secrets, verticality is also a thing. So when you're looking on the map to try and find any of the, blueprints, for example, you might have to go vertical. You might have to find a way to open this, to activate this switch here So you can activate this lift here. It's not obvious, but it is one of those like kind of secrets that you've got an option to do. Won't really spoil that one. I'll let you figure that one out. Let's just say it deals with something. It's one of your powers that might be a bit more orange here to activate that thing. So I'll let you guys do with that what you will. But notice these little particles flying above the barrel in the crate. Typically that means there's some material inside. Maybe it's just a material that you can pick up. Maybe there's actually health potions in the barrels or the crates. Maybe there's a chest you can find. But if you find bags like this is always a good place to know that you're going to probably have at least 1, maybe 2 vitality tonics in it. If you're about to go fight a big giant arc that's like 20 meters tall, you might kind of check the surrounding areas, understand where a couple of your health, vitality tonics might be hiding. And then you might even go through the part of opening the bags, like breaking the bags. So then as he's walking around and you're getting ready to fight something that's that big, you've got a heart tonic maybe over here by this thing, or maybe up the hill I saved another heart tonic. It's not a bad way to kind of get ready for a fight, or if you're just running around, keep an eye out while you're running, because you might have a bag that you could break apart and save your butt in the middle of a fight. Happened to me yesterday when I was running through. So the bags are always going to have your vitality tonics. The tonics can come from other places, but not guaranteed by any means. They're a pretty low chance. But the heart bags, the red ones, those will have your tonics. But all the stuff for materials, if you see any of these things that are kind of sparkly or whatever, those are also going to have a chance at materials. So here's another one. See, there's 2. So I know I've got these up here and waiting. I don't need them right now, and I'm good to just kind of move on forward. So as you kind of walk down this ramp as well, you'll notice I've got another crate here. This one has a couple of particles. That one didn't have anything in it. But again, those are the things that you're going to want to break apart to be able to make sure that you've got some materials to upgrade, to get salvaged resources on all of those things. And again, these little heart bags, and just leave that thing on the ground, you're good. And you'll see some over there, and you'll see a couple of the other things too. And just kind of scout the area. Like if this looks like a big area, the big arc is going to patrol through here, which I know he eventually does because I've done this enough. But also you might want to check and see, it's like, if I need to run up here, what am I going to get into? Okay, I got a couple enemies up here, and I've got a higher tier archer over there. I want to make sure I clear those guys out before I get into a fight with an arc, so I don't have multiple things coming at me. So if you're getting ready for an arc fight, you can use half the level for a fight, but I would check your surroundings before you run into something and then have 2 sets of enemies coming after you. So just be aware of your surroundings and know what's out there. Also, you can climb a lot. Now, if you climb on a wall and you jump, you'll run out of stamina pretty quickly. I'll cover fall damage here in a second. But if you just go up to a wall and climb without jumping at all, your stamina is actually going to be a lot more efficient. Now, sometimes you might want to jump to get away from something quickly, and that's like the invisible wall for the ceiling, but you're going to see how far I can climb and how long I can last doing this just by climbing. So while the jump may be a way to get you started, or you may have to jump off of a ledge to get to something to climb, but if you can avoid a jump more often than not, the climbing is going to be a lot more efficient than you would think if you actually tried to jump. That's a big use of your stamina. Now, when you do jump off, I would recommend what you want to do is try and do a kind of tuck and roll, like a dodge landing, and you want to try and time it right. So even a decent jump here, try and get the tag, and you'll notice there's this little almost invisible shockwave that comes off when you do that. So I'll try and jump up on this pillar here so you can see it. But that's one of your best ways to control your landing, is just to do a tuck and roll. Fall damage really isn't too bad, and you may not time that jump perfectly every time. Trust me, that's totally fine. Because even if your fall damage timing for the roll isn't perfect, you're still going to save most of it. But there was that little kind of invisible shockwave. If you look, it's there. But again, big fall, no damage at all. So that's how you can jump off some pretty massive structures and not take fall damage. If you mistime it a little bit, the fall damage has never been too lethal that I've got to worry about it. Now, one thing you'll notice is maybe something's in a weird spot. You can do so much with the grasp. There's a chest just in a weird spot. If I've got the range for it, I can bring it up to me. And also remember, maybe there's certain things that you don't want to throw. Just let go of the power and it will gently fall. And see, chests are a good way to get vitality tonics too. But those things like that right over there, that if you throw them, they're going to be fireballs. They're not a bad thing to pick up, but if you throw it on accident, you have a risk of hurting yourself. But if you can come over here and, say, pick this thing up, bring it up here to me, and then if I, say, let go of the ability, it's just going to kind of hover. And again, when you're carrying things, it's almost easier to, like, move far ahead and bring them this way. Oh, and remember when I said that fire switch? Even outside of a fire power, yeah, that works too. Lift is active, you might want to go down there. That's my one kind of mini spoiler tip for you. It's probably the easiest way to do that one. Now, I don't want to spoil too much about the big guys and their fights. The first time you fight them, I will say, all you gotta do is take down their health bar. You don't have to figure out any mechanics, and you can technically harvest them on the first time to make the fight quicker if you understand the mechanics, but it's not required and you're not gonna get anything from it, and honestly, depending on how you accomplish the fight and what you're doing, you might actually get less materials from them than you would normally. But these are the coolest parts in the game. So for fighting him the first time, you'll realize that he doesn't have a staff. Come back later. The fights escalate. They're going to feel a little bit different, and they will be a challenge. But remember, when you fight the big guys, check the codex, go to the Great Foes, and if I go to the Ark of Stricken Earth and I read through this, usually towards the middle or the bottom, you're going to get a little bit of a tease about the mechanics of how to go back for round 2 and round 3, and how to be able to get access to the Locus of Power. Now, you may have certain things that you may have to do to be able to actually pull the Locus of Power, because maybe the big foes are going to do something to throw you off or limit your access of time to the Locus of Power unless you do certain things. So the first time you take them out, it's just about surviving long enough to actually defeat the enemy, but getting to the Locus of Power requires some mechanics to it. I don't want to spoil those so you can figure them out, but if you look them up in the Locus after the first one and you go talk to Lane and make sure you compile your codex about the big foes, that's where you'll find that information. For that one, as we kind of discussed, it's about removing the armor pieces, so you got to figure out the ways to do that, and you've got to remove all the armor pieces, whether you throw things at them, hit them with a bow, hit them with your sword, all those little rivets and bolts, hit all of those enough, but then also know if you're hanging on his body chest piece too long, they can grab you and throw you off, so you may sometimes need to do things to distract the foes too, amongst other things that you've got to do. So the big foes are some of the coolest fights in the game. Have fun with those, toy with all your powers, throw things at them, set them on fire, freeze them in place. Really cool things, but I'm not going to really spoil too much of how I would beat them because I've fought them too many times. I'll let you guys figure that out. But that's a lot of what I wanted to show you, is just kind of some stuff out in the world and just what to be aware of. The world is beautiful, the music is great to listen to. I really enjoyed my time in this one, and if you follow the golden path in the story, you're going to revisit these locations enough for some of the side quests and other things. I really wouldn't just ever load into a location just to fight one of the big foes to try and upgrade your powers. You're going to see them enough, do it when you're doing another quest, totally fine. But if you're just going to load in like I did, I just wanted to upgrade my powers, so I was like, I'm just going to go back and fight them straight up again. That was more time than I needed to spend doing that. You'll spend plenty of time in these zones and you'll get enough materials. All that's going to be fine. If you do want to farm them for upgrade materials, that's a different process. That's up to you. But again, try to follow the golden path of the quest so you can get upgrades done for all of the people at the camp and get their stations upgraded so you can have further progress that way with like more resources that you can bring back or more upgrades or even the ability to upgrade your powers if you want to. So if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like below, leave a comment. You guys know I do tips videos over lots of games, and this is one I thoroughly enjoyed, so hopefully this helps some of you out. If you have anybody who's playing, share it with them. Hopefully they enjoy it, but thank you guys. I had fun. Hopefully you do too, and hopefully this guide gave you, you know, a couple pointers to steer you along your path, but I didn't really want to spoil too much, so that's why I didn't want to show you too much of anything later in the game, pretty much anything past the demo. So have a good one, and enjoy and good luck, and you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, subscribe, like, follow, and all those things, and I'll see you soon.